If we want to sketch the function for f of x, then we're going to look at the first subfunction, which is an absolute value. Everything before the comma is the subfunction. Then after the comma, that's the subdomain, the part of the function that we're going to keep. So using transformations on our parent function for an absolute value, that's a V shape, we're going to go up 4 because the k is 4. We go to the left 4 and because the h is -4 and the a is -1, so this gets flipped upside down. So we're going to start at 0, 0. We go up 4 to the left 4. There's the vertex. Since the a is 1, we're going to use that slope of 1 over 1, and it was a negative a, so we flipped that V shape upside down. So this is what our absolute value graph would look like. Okay, and that would be the whole function. Okay, but we're only keeping the x's that are less than -1. So we come back in and erase everything greater than -1. Okay, and then we're going to need an open circle at that endpoint because this is non-inclusive at the endpoint. Okay, then our second subfunction, okay, so the square root subfunction, everything before the comma is what we're going to graph. And a square root parent graph makes an arc, a half a sideways parabola. The k is 1, so we move it up 1. Okay, so we're going up 1 to the left 1 because the h is -1. So up 1 to the left 1, and then the slope is 1 because the a is 1. And it makes half a sideways parabola, so it's going to go out this way. If we pick another value for x, so let's see, if we do 3 for x, 3 plus 1 is 4, square root of 4 is 2, plus 1 is 3. So 3, 3 would also be on this graph. If we put in, let's see, 8 for x, that would be 8 plus 1 is 9. Square root of 9 is 3, plus 1 is 4. So 8 comma 4 would be on this graph. And that, a little too steep there, that would be our half a sideways parabola. Best I can do with my mouse. Okay, now the subdomain for this subfunction is x is greater than equal to -1. The equals is inclusive, so that endpoint is going to be a closed circle. Okay, and then we keep the part of the graph that's greater than -1, which is the whole entire half a sideways parabola. So that would be the graph for f of x. Okay, now let's take a look at g of x. So g of x has the same subfunction, the absolute value, and we're keeping the same part of it, only it's going to be inclusive instead of non-inclusive. So that's going to have the same endpoint, but it'll be a closed circle. So we'll go ahead and make that a closed circle at that endpoint. Okay, then our second subfunction is a little different this time. We're not going up 1, but we have a reflection in the x-axis, and we're still going to the left 1. So starting at 0, 0, we go to the left 1. Okay, that would be our starting point. Then we have a reflection in the x-axis. So we go down, oh, whoops, wrong direction, down and to the right. Okay, that uses the a value. And then again, if we put 3 in for the x, 3 plus 1 is 4, square root of 4 is 2, -2. So go to 3, -2. Right? If we put 8 in for x, 8 plus 1 is 9, square root of 9 is 3, so that'd be 8, -3. And see if I can draw that with my mouse. It's not great, but it's not terrible. Okay, and this endpoint, when we look at the subdomain, x is strictly greater than -1. That's non-inclusive. So this endpoint is going to be an open circle. And that would be our graph for g of x. Okay, now let's look at h of x. So h of x, we've got the same subfunction, same absolute value sum function, but this time we want the x's that are less than or equal to -2 instead of -1 like we had previously. So we're going to chop this graph off now at -2. And then in the subdomain, right, we want the x's that are less than equal to -2. That's a closed circle. It's inclusive then, -2. And then our square root function, okay, this is the same as the one before. So we went left 1 and had a reflection in the x-axis. And this one had an open circle. Right, and then we came down here. And then at 3, we had -2, and then 8 was a -3. So this curved down this way, and that's our graph for h of x. Okay, now for j of x, we've got a slightly different absolute value function this time. Right? We have to go up 3 instead of up 4. So that's going to take this whole graph, oops, and move it down 1 because we're going up 3. So move each of these down. There we go. So now this graph has moved up 3 and to the left 4, still has a reflection in the x-axis, so this is going to be my absolute value piece. But this time we want to keep the part of the graph where our x's are less than 0. So this needs to get extended just a little bit further because we want to go all the way to 0. So we're going to follow this slope out until we get to x equals 0. And that's non-inclusive because there's no equal sign. So that endpoint is an open circle. Move that up just a smidge. There we go. Open circle. Okay, then our square root is different this time as well. Our square root of x parent graph is going to go down 1 because the k is -1. So we start at 0, 0. We go down 1. That's our starting point. Slope is 1. There's been no reflection. Okay, when we put 3 in for x, oh no, 4. 4 in for x, square root of 4 is 2, minus 1 is 1. So there we got 4, 1. So this will be my half a sideways parabola. And this subdomain, x is greater than equal to 0, that equal is inclusive. So this is going to become a closed circle, right, which joins these two up. So open and closed at the same endpoint is closed. And then k of x is going to have the same absolute value function that we just drew, but this time we want the x's that are strictly less than 1. So we're going to need to extend this absolute value out just a little further till we get to 1. There we go. And it's x's that are strictly less than 1, so that's going to be an open circle endpoint. Okay, then our absolute value function is done. We look at our second subfunction. This is the square root of the quantity x minus 1. So this square root graph moved to the right 1 unit. So we start at 0, 0, we come 1 unit over to the right. The a is 1. So there's our slope of 1. And then we can put in numbers for our x. So if we put in 5 for x, 5 minus 1 is 4. Square root of 4 is 2. So 5, 2 would be on this graph. And then we can go ahead and sketch that off a sideways parabola. And our subdomain is x is greater than equal to 1. So the equals is inclusive. That makes this endpoint a closed circle. And that would be our graph for k of x.